Hello, church family. Today I wanted to take a little divergence from our teaching series, the theology teaching series. You can look for new videos on that probably the first couple weeks of the new year. I intend on doing that, so we'll see if it actually happens or not, but we'll get back to that here at the new year. But today, what I wanted to do is take a little trip. It's fascinating, I think, and it comes from the pages of Scripture. And I wanted to look further into the Star of Bethlehem. I thought it'd be fun to do, but also edifying for you. That's my hope, anyways. And some of this comes on the heels of the men's Bible study from what we learned about Genesis 1, studying it in its ancient context. And I won't have time to get into too much of that, but I hope that you are able to find this encouraging and edifying and strengthening in your faith as we explore the Star of Bethlehem in the skies. So if you would, you could turn to Matthew chapter 2, verses, and we'll read verses 1 through 12. Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who has been born the King of the Jews? For he saw his star when it rose, and have come to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And assembling all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They told him, In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it is written by the prophet. And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler, who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod summoned the wise men secretly, and ascertained from them what time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, Go and search out diligently for the child. And when you have found him, bring me word, that I too may come and worship him. After listening to the king, they went on their way, and behold, the star that they had seen when it rose went before them, until it came to rest over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly, and with great joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and they worshipped him. Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold, and frankincense, and myrrh. And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. So, what do we know about these wise men, or what we might, a better term, a more descriptive title term would be Magi. Well, we don't know a whole lot about the Magi, but what we do know, what we can discern from the text, is quite fascinating. Just a little background on the Greek word that's used here, magos, is often translated as it is in the ESV that I read, as wise men. And that's a good translation, but as most translations go, you can only do so much. It loses the specific nuance of the word magos. The original word, magos, was more of a title. It's more of a title than description. It is more like a descriptive title, if you will. The Magi were, ready or not, ancient astrologers. These ancient astrologers came to Jerusalem from the east because they observed astronomical phenomenon and interpreted it as a divine signal for the birth of the King of the Jews, whom they had come to worship. Now, I'm sure that when I said the word astrologers, like bells and whistles went off in your head, and probably like, caution signs, whatever it might be. You figure to yourself, Ryan, isn't astrology, something we should stay away from? Like, doesn't the Bible talk about that? Well, the answer to your question, if that's your question, the answer is yes. Answer is yes, presuming the association of astrology with horoscopes. I assume that's what's coming to your mind. Horoscopes, or the stars having some type of power to dictate and control our lives. Yes, if that's what you're thinking, we should stay away from that. Exactly. And that common understanding that we all have of astrology today is in many ways very similar to the pagan astrology of ancient times. However, let me ask you a question. Just pause for a second. Think about what astrology is. It's you think about it from the study of the stars and their alignment and so on and so forth. Let me ask you a question. Who made the stars? And who put those stars in their place? God. Specifically, you could see this in Genesis chapter 1, verses 14 through 19, on day number 4 of creation. You could also see God's creation and ordering of the celestial lights communicated in Job chapter 9, verse 9, and Job 38, 31 through 33. And in that last text, chapter 38 of Job, verses 31 through 33, God himself refers to his complete control over 4 constellations: the Pleiades, Orion, Mazzaroth, and the Bear. I'm sure you've heard of 3 of those, but these are well-known constellations. So God refers to his complete control. You can go read it. Asking Job, can you loose the bonds of the Pleiades or something like that, or loose the bonds of Orion? He's asking Job, referring to his complete and utter control over these zodiac symbols, right? Constellations. But God didn't just create the stars, and he didn't just put them where they go, order them. He also gave them a purpose. Going back to Genesis chapter 1, if you look there, you see that the creation of the celestial bodies had a purpose, and this is coming from right out of the Lexham Bible Dictionary. You can also read it, quoting from here. But the creation of the celestial bodies had a purpose, namely to be for signs and for seasons, for days and years. And I'll add, on earth. The lights that God created in the heavens, the greater light, the lesser light, and the stars, were given the purpose to serve earth. Okay? Heaven and earth. They were created to be observed and to mark time. That was a legitimate form of astral observation. The Jewish calendar, if you read through the Old Testament, it was extremely important to God. And he appointed specific days, specific months. When the Jewish calendar started, there was a specific start date, which would have been around March and April. That was the first month. And then their calendar, there were specific months, and on specific days of those months, they had very specific ritual things that God had ordered them to do as a part of their festivals and feasts. And they didn't, get their latest calendar from the insurance company, flip through it, to be able to tell. No, they observed astronomical phenomenon. They observed the stars to be able to tell time. Now, so let's just go back through and realize what we just went through, what we learned, what we can take away. So we know that God created the stars. He ordered them and designed them. And he controls the stars. Not just the stars, he controls all the celestial bodies. Think about the sun, the moon as well. So keeping that in mind, does it seem impossible that God would communicate through them in more specific ways than we usually think? Could it be? Is it impossible? Of course not. This is what I referred to in the GroupMe message last week when I talked about David speaking about something maybe more specific when he wrote Psalm 19, verses 1 through 4, when he talks about the heavens declaring, the skies proclaiming, the heavens saying, pouring out speech, revealing knowledge. We think about that from our modern worldview, right? Our modern cosmology, where we think of the galaxies and light years and the vastness of space, and we get images of a picture of the earth from the moon. It's like that David didn't know any of that stuff. That's not the way that he viewed the stars and the heavens. That's it was completely different. I don't have time to go into the way they thought about it, but it was different. It was much different than ours. So it's not impossible, based upon what we've covered so far, that God would communicate through them in a more specific way than we usually think. And that's exactly what is revealed in the story of the Magi in Matthew chapter 2. And there's more than just 4, but I'm going to give you 4 just observations that we can draw from the story from Matthew 2. 1, the Magi believed that astronomical phenomenon took part in communication. 2, they believed that there was a connection between astronomical realities and earthly realities. And this is pretty much everyone during this time and before this time, first century and all the way back into ancient times. There was a connection between heaven and earth, and the same thing goes for the Bible. There's a connection between heaven and earth, right? Things that take place in the heavens and things that take place on earth. You think of the Lord's Prayer, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So they believed that there was a connection between astronomical realities and earthly realities. 3, the Magi's observation and their interpretation of what they astronomically observed was correct. And then the 4th one, general revelation, which is what we describe as creation. General revelation, what man can see as they look out and see nature, see all of creation, led the Magi to come to Jerusalem. They knew to come to Jerusalem, but they did not have special revelation that revealed the precise location of this new king. The chief priests and the scribes quote from Micah chapter 5, verse 2, to reveal that Bethlehem is the place the scriptures prophesy. I thought that was very interesting as well. There's so many interesting things in that text. So they had general revelation. They had witnessed it. They saw it in the stars. There's a king of the Jews being born, this new king. And they wanted to come and they wanted to worship him. And this could possibly be what Paul is referring to, is something that Paul refers to in regards to the nations having no excuse. There's probably more behind that, but this is probably at least a part of it. So I thought there was 4 observations just to chew on, that we see that from the story of the Magi, God is sovereignly controlling and ordered the stars, the astronomical alignments, if you will, to do his bidding, to communicate his truth. not, you know, the stars having control over our lives and so on and so forth, as modern horoscopes and pagan astrology would have you think about it. I'm gonna stop there going any further down this. I'm gonna post two links in the video description if I know how to do that. But I'm gonna post two links in the video description to two other YouTube videos that dig deeper into this, and it's absolutely fascinating what they reveal as they get deeper into it. One is a shorter video, about 10 or 11 minutes long, and the other one is about a little over an hour long. But as we come to a close, before I close the video and ask you to go to those links to learn more, here's what we should take away from this. There's an astronomical event, a heavenly reality, that corresponded to an earthly reality. It was legit. There was a star that communicated the birth of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This star, and you'll learn this in the links, the star wasn't the sudden appearance of a new star. It wasn't a comet, right? You see in the text, it's like this is something that's veiled to the Jews themselves. Herod's like, what? Like, they didn't even know about this astronomical sign, right? It wasn't something like, this big comet tail flying by or something like that. It more than likely wasn't the sudden appearance of a new star, but probably was an alignment of the stars that came together at an exact time in history, an exact moment in history. And that just blows me away, because this is an astronomical alignment that God set in place from the foundations of the world. That means that when God made the sun, the moon, and the stars on day 4 of creation, he aligned them and set them in motion, knowing the exact moment the heavenly Son of God would come to earth as Jesus. Think about that for a little bit. On day 4, when he set the stars where they were and set them in motion the way they were supposed to go about, he knew the exact moment, right then, when the heavenly Son of God came to earth as Jesus, the Son of Man. Before God ever created man, creation is being ordered and designed to point to the glory of Jesus Christ. And concerning this Jesus, our Lord, the words of Paul in Colossians 1:16 ring in my mind. And just listen to what Paul says. For by him all things were created, in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things were created through him and for him. It's quite fascinating when you think about it from the perspective we just learned about. I hope you found this edifying, and I hope you will find these two links edifying as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and may God be glorified in all of this. Bye.